The Missed Call, Episode 5, The Last Connection, Soft Thunder. Rain still falling. The faint sound of a ringing phone fades into silence. Father Emmanuel and Amara stood frozen beside the car, rainwater pooling around their feet. The air felt charged, like the sky itself was holding its breath. From somewhere deep in the fog, that small voice echoed again. She answered again. Emmanuel gripped his rosary tighter. "He's still here," he whispered. Amara turned slowly, scanning the road. The mud, the crash marks, the forgotten phone, all of it seemed to hum, vibrating in rhythm with their own heartbeats. Then, faintly, from the priest's coat pocket, a sound, a ringtone. Emmanuel's eyes widened. He pulled out his phone, but it wasn't his number calling. It was Jonah's. Amara gasped. "That's impossible. He's gone." The priest's hand shook. "Then who's calling from his line?" The screen flashed once, then turned black. Transition, low static fades in. Hospital corridor ambience. Hours later, they took shelter in an abandoned clinic nearby, the same one the nurse had mentioned before, where patients once complained of voices in the dark. The generator hummed weakly, lights flickering. Emmanuel sat by the window, drenched and trembling. Amara dried her recorder with a cloth, whispering, "We need to understand what it wants." The priest shook his head. "No, it doesn't want. It feeds. Each answered call gives it shape." Grace answered. Daniel answered. Jonah answered twice. Amara frowned. "But how is Jonah's number still active?" The priest looked up. "Because when he disappeared, the line didn't close." Soft static pulses. Amara's recorder blinked, a small red light glowing on its side. "Wait," she said softly. "It's recording on its own." She pressed the stop button, but instead of silence, a voice came through the speaker. Jonah's voice. "Father, if you're hearing this, it's already using my voice." Amara covered her mouth. That's Jonah." The priest's eyes filled with tears. "He's trying to warn us." The recording continued, distorted, broken between static bursts. "It's not in one place anymore. It's in every call. Every missed signal. You can't destroy it. You can only end the line." Then silence. Amara whispered, "How do we end it?" Thunder rolls outside. Wind rattles the windows. The priest stood slowly. "We go back to where the first signal was made." She frowned. "You mean the crash site?" He shook his head. "No. Farther back. Before Grace, before Daniel. The first unanswered call." Amara's heart pounded. "You know where that is?" Emmanuel nodded faintly. "It started in the church. The night the tower bells stopped ringing. Scene shift, stormy night, church bells faintly in distance. They arrived at St. Bridget's, the old parish Emmanuel once served. The doors groaned open, revealing dark pews and rain dripping through the ceiling. Amara whispered, "It feels wrong in here." The priest stepped forward, whispering a prayer under his breath. Lightning flashed through the stained glass, illuminating hundreds of phones laid neatly across the altar, silent, but glowing faintly with missed call notifications. Amara's breath hitched. "What is this?" Emmanuel's voice cracked. "Confession lines. The church tried to keep people connected during the lockdown. We installed hundreds of lines. And one of them never hung up." He knelt beside the altar. A single rotary phone sat at the center, ancient, black, covered in dust. Its cord was cut. But somehow it rang, slow, steady, endless, ringing. Amara whispered, "That's the first call." Emmanuel nodded. "The call that was never answered." Low hum intensifies. The floorboards creak, as the priest reached toward the phone. Amara's camera, still hanging around her neck, switched on by itself. The lens adjusted, focusing not on them, but on the reflection in the polished floor. Jonah's reflection. He stood there, pale, eyes hollow, holding his own phone to his ear. Amara gasped and turned, but he wasn't there. Only static shimmered in the air like heat. Then his voice came through both their phones at once. "You found the first call. But it's already found you." The rotary phone's bell grew louder, almost screaming. The stained glass cracked. The candles flared to life with blue flame. Emmanuel shouted, "Grace! Daniel! Jonah! Whoever you are, release us." But the voice that answered wasn't Jonah anymore. He doesn't let go. He collects. Every answered prayer becomes his line. Amara stumbled back. He's using faith as a signal. The priest turned toward her, horrified. That's why it began here. Not because of sin, but because we kept calling for help. Whispers rise in the background, overlapping voices saying answer repeatedly. The phones on the altar began to ring together, hundreds of tones, merging into one long, dreadful sound. Then, from the choir loft above, Jonah's form appeared again, flickering like a bad signal. He looked down at them, eyes filled with sorrow. "It won't stop unless someone takes my place." Amara shouted, "Jonah! How do we end it?" He pointed toward the rotary phone. "One final call. Answer it. And hold until the line dies." Emmanuel stepped forward, shaking. "If I answer, he'll take me." Jonah nodded slowly. "Yes. But it'll free the others." Amara grabbed his arm. "No. We can find another way." The priest smiled faintly. "I've already answered once." Then he picked up the receiver. Massive static burst. Lights flickered wildly. The church trembled. The voices screamed. Every phone in the city began ringing in sync. From apartments, hospitals, even payphones long dead. Amara covered her ears. "Father!" He shouted through the static, voice echoing like thunder. "In the name of the Father, and the Son, and the Holy Spirit, the line ends here." Then, silence. The phones went dark, the blue flames vanished, and the rotary phone cracked down the middle, its receiver falling limp. Amara ran to him. But he was gone, only his rosary remained, coiled around the phone like a seal. Soft rain resonates. The church quiet. Amara knelt, sobbing, "Father Emmanuel." Then, from behind her, a faint ring. She turned. Her own phone glowed in her pocket. Screen cracked. Unknown number. A voice whispered from the speaker. Jonah's voice, faint and distant. "You ended the line." But not the echo. Amara whispered, trembling, "What do you mean?" "He's still listening. Through every recording. Every story told." She looked down at her camera, the red recording light still blinking. The final frame zoomed in slowly on the old phone. Smoke curled from its receiver, and faintly, almost like a sigh, Grace's voice whispered through, "Thank you, Father." But the call never really ends. Thunder fades. Rain softens. Then, one single ring echoes into silence. Amara stood frozen in the dim light of St. Bridget's. Father Emmanuel's rosary still coiled around the shattered phone. Smoke drifted upward like a final prayer. Jonah's voice still lingered in her mind. "You ended the line." But not the echo. She whispered, trembling, "Then where is it now?" The only answer was the echo of her own words bouncing off the wet stone walls. Transition. Outside ambience. Distant thunder. By dawn, emergency crews surrounded the church. They found Amara sitting on the steps, soaked and silent. When they asked what happened, she simply said, "We ended a call that shouldn't have existed." But as the officers moved the broken phones from the altar, every device flickered, one by one, displaying the same timestamp, 2:13 a.m., a technician muttered, "Glitch, maybe." Amara knew better. It wasn't over yet. Cut to hospital ambience. Monitors beeping, voices distant. Later that night, Amara sat in a hospital room, the same one Father Emmanuel had once woken in. On her lap rested his old Bible, the pages warped from rain. Inside, a folded note she hadn't seen before. It read, "The echo travels through memory. Only remembrance can silence it." She whispered, "Memory. Not signal." Then her hospital room phone buzzed once, unknown number, no ringtone, just the vibration, like a heartbeat. She hesitated, then lifted the receiver. "Hello?" Nothing. Then Jonah's faint voice, distant and broken, spoke through the static. "He's weakening. But he's still inside the calls that were recorded." Amara gasped. The footage. She looked toward her bag, the camera from the church still inside. Sound cue, thunder grows, static rises slowly. She played the last clip on the camera, the screen filled with rolling static, then shapes, then Jonah's face again, pale and flickering. "Amara. If you're watching this, he's still feeding on the recordings, the voices keep him alive. You have to end every copy. Destroy the echoes." Amara's hand shook. "But if I erase them all," she whispered, "no one will ever know what happened." Jonah's voice softened. "They don't need to know the darkness, only that someone answered. And survived." The screen glitched, then went black, scene shift, stormy evening. Computer fans hummed. Amara returned to her apartment. Thunder rolled across the skyline as she laid every memory card, every tape, every note onto her desk. Hundreds of recordings, voices of the lost, Grace crying, Lydia praying, Jonah warning, Father Emmanuel whispering his last words. She whispered, all of them. Trapped in sound. Her laptop screen suddenly glowed. A folder appeared by itself, echo_line_restored. Inside, one file, call_return.mp3, her breath caught. No, the speakers crackled. Then Grace's trembling voice whispered, "He's almost gone. One last voice must answer." Amara closed her eyes, then let it be mine. Sound cue, steady heartbeat. Static turns rhythmic. She opened her recorder and pressed record, her voice, calm and clear, to whoever's listening, "This is Amara. I am closing the line. No more calls, no more echoes." The lights dimmed, the city outside flickered, and somewhere far away, every ringing phone gave one final tone, long, low, and fading. Amara whispered, "Goodbye." Then pressed delete. The file vanished, her screen went dark, and with it, the hum in the walls finally stopped. Transition, soft morning ambience, birds distant, sunlight filtered through her curtains. Her phone lay silent on the table, screen cracked, dead battery. For the first time in weeks, there was no static in the air, no flicker, no whisper, just peace. Amara looked out the window, and froze. Down the street, the faint silhouette of Jonah stood beneath a lamppost, smiling faintly before. Fading with the breeze. Across the road, Grace and Lydia walked side by side, their faces calm, their laughter soft, free at last, and in the reflection of the church window nearby, Father Emmanuel's rosary hung, untouched but gleaming in the morning light. They were back, all except Daniel. Amara opened Father Emmanuel's Bible again. Inside the cover, she wrote in blue ink, the line ended not by silence, but by someone willing to listen. She smiled faintly. Outside, the church bell rang once, clear and bright, seen, months later. Documentary narration, Amara's voice, calm and reflective. It began as a mystery of missed calls, it ended as a story of connection, of people reaching through fear. Trying to be heard. Clips of Grace, Jonah, Lydia, and Father Emmanuel faded across the screen, faces at peace. Then Amara's tone softened, only one never returned. Daniel's voice remains the first, and last, to echo, but maybe that's how peace begins, when one soul rests, so the rest can live. Final ambience, gentle wind, city quiet. Amara stood by the river, holding the cracked recorder. She whispered softly, "Rest, Daniel." Then dropped it into the water. It sank slowly, bubbles rising, the red light blinking once. Then fading out, the wind carried her words across the calm water. No reply came back, just stillness. Closing sound cue, one soft bell. Fading to silence, the final caption appears on screen, the line is closed. Soft piano fades out, the END, for Daniel, the first call. And for those who answered so others could live. If you enjoy this story, don't forget to like, comment and subscribe for more.